What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and if you are new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell because we cover all things New York Rangers. And today we have a massive piece of news that every single Blue Shirts fan needed to hear. The Rangers and Braden Schneider have officially agreed to a one-year contract worth $5.5 million, avoiding what could have been a very messy salary arbitration situation. This deal drops just 2 weeks before his scheduled hearing on July 29th, and honestly, I have so many thoughts on this signing that we need to break it all down from every single angle. So grab your coffee, get comfortable, and let's get into it. First, let's just set the scene here because context is everything with this one. Schneider had filed for salary arbitration and had a hearing set for July 29th, and he was coming off a 2-year, $4.4 million contract with the Rangers that expired after the 2025-26 season. So this kid went from earning $2.2 million per year on that previous deal to now landing $5.5 million on this new one. That is a significant jump. And look, some people are going to look at that number and raise an eyebrow, but when you really dig into what Schneider brings to this team and what the market looks like for a right-handed defenseman with his profile, it starts to make a lot more sense, even if it is complicated. Now let's talk about who Braden Schneider actually is, because if you are a casual fan watching this, you might not have a full picture of this guy's career. Schneider was drafted 19th overall by the Rangers back in 2020, and he is now entering his 6th NHL season. He has accumulated 87 points across 368 career games, and he is known primarily for his defensive game. That does not sound flashy, and honestly it is not supposed to be. Schneider is not a point producer. He never has been. He is the kind of defenseman who eats minutes, blocks shots, lays hits, and makes life miserable for opposing forwards. And when you look at what he did last season through that lens, the picture becomes a lot clearer. Schneider led the entire Rangers team with 140 blocked shots last season. He topped all Blue Shirts defensemen with 163 hits. He averaged more than 20 minutes of ice time per game for the first time in his entire NHL career. And he played all 82 regular season games. In fact, since his NHL debut back in January of 2022, he has only missed 5 games total. Think about that. That is durability. That is professionalism. That is a player who shows up every single night regardless of the circumstances. And in a league where injuries derail teams constantly, that kind of reliability has real value that does not always show up on a stat sheet. But here is where it gets interesting and where the debate really starts to heat up. Schneider had 18 points last season, posting 2 goals and 16 assists, and his 43.26% expected goal share at 5-on-5 was actually the worst among all Rangers regulars according to Natural Stat Trick. So yes, the underlying numbers are not great. And that is the tension with this signing, right? You have a player who brings character, durability, and defensive presence, but whose impact at even strength in terms of puck possession and shot quality just was not where the Rangers needed it to be last season. And then there is the situation that surrounded him all year long. Schneider was the subject of trade rumors throughout the 2025-26 season as general manager Chris Drury promised a significant retool of the organization. Just think about what it is like to be 24 years old, trying to establish yourself as an NHL player, while simultaneously reading your own name in trade rumors every single week. That has to mess with your head. That has to affect your game. And yet Schneider kept showing up, kept blocking shots, kept logging big minutes. That tells you something about the character of this kid. Now let's talk about what Chris Drury had to say, because his words here are fascinating. Drury said, "We think Braden is a really good young talented defenseman. So we drafted him, developed him, we like the skill set and what he does for us. I know he, along with me and us, are just trying to do everything we can to be better and help him be better. But he's an exciting player and a terrific all-around high-character person in our organization." Now that is a very carefully worded statement. Drury is not exactly beating his chest and saying Schneider is the future of this franchise. But he is also clearly expressing genuine belief in the player. It reads like a vote of confidence wrapped in just enough ambiguity to keep everyone guessing, which is very Chris Drury of him, honestly. The arbitration angle here is really important to understand too, because it is not just a business formality. The arbitration process can be a prickly affair, sometimes leading to lasting bad feelings when the team attempts to prove why a player is worth less money than he is seeking. When a team sits down in an arbitration hearing, they essentially have to build a legal case against their own player. They have to argue why he is not worth what he is asking. Imagine being a 24-year-old professional athlete and hearing your own organization systematically tear down your value in a room full of lawyers and executives. That can permanently damage a relationship. It can poison the locker room dynamic. It can break a young player's confidence at exactly the wrong moment in their development. So the fact that both sides came together and got this done before it ever got to that point, that is genuinely good news for everyone involved. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is where Schneider actually fits on this Rangers blue line going forward. And this is where things get really complicated. The Rangers have been one of the most active teams this offseason, adding Marcus Pettersson, Sean Durzi, Pavel Dorofeyev, Oliver Bjorkstrand, Albert Smits, and Cole Bedoin. That is a lot of new faces. And on the defensive side specifically, those additions of Pettersson and Durzi create a real logjam. Schneider is now the fourth highest paid defenseman on the Rangers, equaling newcomer Marcus Pettersson. They slot behind Adam Fox at $9.5 million, Vladislav Gavrikov at $7 million, and Sean Durzi. So on paper, the Rangers actually have a really intriguing top five on the blue line. But for Schneider personally, this likely means a return to the third pair, and that is a tough pill to swallow for a guy who was averaging over 20 minutes a night last year. This is a mini-bridge deal and a classic prove-it contract for the still young 24-year-old right-handed defenseman. And that framing is absolutely right. This is not a reward signing. This is not the Rangers telling Schneider he has made it. This is the Rangers essentially saying, here is your platform, here are your opportunities, now go earn the long-term deal. And whether that long-term deal comes in New York or somewhere else is genuinely an open question right now. The Rangers still face a long-term decision with the 24-year-old defenseman. Next season sets up to be a very important one, with the Rangers closely analyzing Schneider, who can be a restricted free agent again next summer before reaching unrestricted free agent status in 2028. The Rangers likely need to decide Schneider's future on Broadway after the 2026-27 season, meaning either make a long-term and considerable financial investment in him, or trade the former first-round pick. That is the reality of where this stands. And I think Schneider knows it too. He has spent his entire professional life in this organization. He was drafted here. He developed here. Schneider has made it known that he wants to stay with the Rangers. That matters. That desire to be here, to prove himself here, to win here, that is exactly the kind of motivation a player needs going into a season where everything is on the line. Competition brings out the best in players. Schneider is undoubtedly entering this season with a chip on his shoulder, with Pettersson and Durzi arriving to take his minutes, and the shiny new prospect Albert Smits entering the picture. Here is my final take. This is a calculated, smart move by the Rangers. They kept a high-character, durable, defensively reliable player in the fold without destroying their relationship through arbitration. They gave him a number that respects his growth while leaving nothing locked in long-term. And they have created a situation where Schneider has every reason in the world to have the best season of his career. If he flourishes, the Rangers win. If he struggles and they decide to move on, they can. This is a no-lose setup for New York, even if for Schneider personally, the stakes could not be higher. The 2026-27 season is going to tell us everything we need to know about Braden Schneider's future with the New York Rangers. I for one cannot wait to see how it plays out. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think this is the right move? Do you see a long-term future for Schneider on Broadway? Let me know. Like this video if you learned something, subscribe if you are new, and as always, let's go Rangers.